Welcome to Chapter 2, Professionalism. You should have your book.
And you might want your workbook. This is not a chapter that there's a lot in the workbook, but it's a really important topic.
It is. And you will always need paper, pencil, maybe your calendar, depending on how you work. Because today we're actually going to talk about your Monday morning action plan.
And again, when we say paper and pencil, if you're a computer person, you can always substitute a computer. We are analog. We like paper and pencil. So get a document wherever you're getting it and title it Monday Morning Action Plan, because your professionalism starts on Monday. The next day, the beginning of the next week, you're going to show up as the director, as a leader in your program, and we want you to have an action plan.
Sounds great. So remember, as always, professionalism starts day one for you. So if you've never met your staff, this is going to be your first impression. If you've already met your staff, in other words, you're going from peer to manager, we'll talk about that either in a separate episode. Actually, you might need to catch that as a podcast.
Yep.
So today we've got one thing that we're really going to try to focus on, and that is what to do your very first week as a director.
Because you're modeling professionalism for your staff. You're modeling how to keep a professional distance. We don't want your staff to become your bosom buddies. We don't want them to become, who you offload your stress to. You want to become a resource for your staff. We want you to protect confidentiality. We want you to be consistent. There's the keys to professionalism that you've got in the book. But when we're starting out our relationship, we want you to schedule a meeting with every member of your staff, each and every one.
Not just your full-time staff, not just the staff that are the squeaky wheels, not just the ones that maybe you've heard from that are going to be perhaps maybe a transition reluctant. So we want to make sure that you talk with everybody. And it's really going to be helpful to you to create a list of questions and use that same list of questions with everybody.
Because mostly this meeting is for you to listen. Remember, we got 2 ears and 1 mouth. So we're supposed to listen twice as much as we talk. So in these meetings, you've got your questions you're going to ask everyone. And they might be questions like, what is your favorite thing about working here? I like that to either be your first question or your last question. What are some other questions that they would ask?
You know what probably went on to precipitate this transition. So if it was something that was cordial across basically the environment, in other words, somebody retired or somebody moved, in other words, this isn't a forced move, that's going to have a very different emotion than if this was a forced, somebody was fired overnight and you've become the director
in a crisis.
Yes.
Well, if you're taking this class because you're starting a program, this same thing applies. Mm-hmm. You need to have a listening session with your employees as soon as you have some. And you need to be, as a new program, you're going to want to be doing this about once a quarter, where you bring everybody in and you have a listening session. That is part of best practices. It is important for your staff to know that you're here to hear their feedback. Okay. I just want to talk about a little bit about what could happen if you don't. What is an example of unprofessional behavior? I'm going to let you pick from the 5 that we brainstormed before we got on.
Well, I'll just share with you what we did talk about. And if you don't hear one of these and you're really like, ooh, we had that issue in our program, shoot us an email, go onto the contact form. You probably have our emails and at least one email that you've received from us. So we hope that you feel comfortable letting us know that you have a situation that you'd like some feedback on. But there's always inappropriate relationships with parents. Now, this could be worst case scenario, which is staff dating parents, which I know that sounds like that, like, why would that even happen? But trust us, it does. There is just the relationship of, basically staff being hired by parents as nannies or their own little school or whatever they may choose to call it.
Yeah.
But one of the ones that we've run into, unfortunately, a lot is that inappropriate behavior for staff when they leave work. And I know that you've heard that one on a podcast, so we're going to leave that on the podcast. So that leaves us with, I don't know, let's see.
Gossip. The gossip festival that can develop at your school, either just between staff or between staff and your clients. By the way, we call them clients, not parents, not families, because they are not your parents. You had some of those already. These are your clients. Clients are people that you provide a professional service for. They're your clients. They're not your families. They're not your parents. That's our terminology. You don't have to take it, but that's why we use the term clients. So be professional with them. And if you see staff starting to get into a gossip whirlwind, nip it in the bud as quickly as you can, whether they're doing it with each other or whether they're doing it with the clients.
Absolutely. So remember, we always want our staff, we want everybody to get along, right? We want the staff, we want the families and clients to all get along. We want them to be friendly. And especially if you've gone from peer to manager, it's real easy to get into wanting to be part of that. But this is where you have to set the example. So you set the example day one, how you show up, from what you say, what you wear, what you do, what is the behavior you have with the parents, with the kids, with the staff. Whose name do you know? Hopefully, you know everybody's name. And we think you need to know everybody's name by the first week.
We'll see you next time.